From of Perry and Young, and tonight we're talking all about family law. So if you got questions about anything family law related, give us a call. Phone lines are open, 850-392-1544. If you do not feel like going on the air live, you can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. As promised, I've got a great friend with me tonight, and he's one of the utmost legal expert authorities in our region on family law. Because thank goodness you are, because I despise it.
A lot of
Rob
people do.
Boyette, y'all. So Rob, thanks for joining us tonight. But man, I mean seriously, God bless you, man. I mean, you've got the patience of Job to do some of this stuff, I think.
It's a difficult but also rewarding job.
Right.
And you know, people put their lives in your hands, you know, whether it be divorce or child custody or other things along those lines. You know, it's difficult, and you do usually see people at their worst, right. Especially if you're dealing with divorce. It's the toughest time in their life, and you kind of have to be patient with them and hold their hand and do what you can to help them through the law.
Well, there's so many different layers, I should call it, of family law. You have your simple divorces. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have adoptions, which can be, that has to be very rewarding.
The adoptions are, and I don't do too many adoptions, and usually the adoptions I do are step-parent adoptions, where you have a step-parent who stepped in,
right.
and you know, a parent who's either absent or can't be there for their child, and they've got somebody who lovingly is stepping in on the other side to take care of their child for them.
But then you also have the kind of the tenseness of custody battles.
Yes,
whether
yes.
that's in a relationship where they were not married, or a marriage that's falling apart, and then they're fighting over the children as well. And then on top of that, then you're fighting over your assets, and then you're fighting over everything. And
yes.
That's what I said earlier. Rob, God bless you, man, because I don't know that I could have the patience to handle some of that stuff. But it just, I mean, you're obviously very, very good at what you do.
I try to be. And look, you know, the court system is built and designed around what the court system wants you to happen, which they want you to be cordial. They want you to be nice, especially if you had children. And they want you to co-parent. They want you to raise a child together, regardless of what you've been through in your relationship or in your divorce or whatever's going on. They expect you to come together as good parents and co-parent the child, whether that's a realistic expectation or not. A lot of people in this state do it, and there are a lot of folks that fight about it still. You
know, Rob, getting married typically is very simple. You go down and get your marriage license, right? Mm-hmm. And you find someone that's qualified to marry you, and wham, you're married.
Yeah.
Getting divorced is a lot tougher, and not only is it tough, it's very expensive. Now, there are some people that think that they can do it themselves, and they go down and get forms that have been provided to them either through the clerk's office. I assume they still give them forms.
The clerk's office still does that, and the Supreme Court has a website, and you can get all the forms from there. But the forms are just that, they're forms.
Right.
And where you get into trouble is if it's not just a simple, I want a divorce. If you're trying to split your property or split your assets or things of that nature, it gets very difficult, and even the forms can be difficult because they've got a box on there for every situation. And you come in and people, they'll come see you 2 or 3 years later and say, well, I did this myself, especially with the kids. But he comes back and I checked this box or I didn't check this box, and basically it becomes more expensive to fix the mistake than it would have been to just go out and hire a lawyer to begin with.
Probably like a complex business trying to file their own taxes and not understanding the tax code at all. Rob, we talk about the cost, but I believe that you work with your clients as well. I mean, they don't have to come to you all at one point and give you all this absorbent amount of money if it takes that amount.
No.
But you work with your clients, right?
I try to work with my clients as best I can. Now I will say this, the old Willie Nelson joke, if you ever heard it, you know why a divorce is so expensive? Because it's worth it.
Yeah.
But really, the problem is if you could make mistakes that could end up costing you way more money than it would be to just go out and hire a competent attorney.
Right.
And knows what they're doing, so they can hold your hand. They can help you through what you need to do to get through the divorce without as minimal amount of pain and suffering as can be.
Right. Phone lines are open, 850-392-1544. You can email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. I do believe we have an email question related to a divorce from 3 years ago. Guys, if you can put that up for us. Well, we'll take this one. This is from Christine. That was another email that we had that came in also. My daughter was a backseat passenger in a one-car wreck when the driver ran off the road and hit a sign. Her hospital bill is $20,000, but no one has offered to pay it. Do we need a lawyer? Christine, I can answer that, and I think even Rob can answer that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's a lot going on in a case like that. Even though it's a single car accident, your daughter was a passenger in the car, and there may be multiple levels of insurance that are involved, not only the person that was driving the car, who caused the accident, some form of negligence on his or her behalf, and then his BI policy or their BI policy would kick in. If there's a separate owner of the car, then that policy would also kick in. And then if your daughter has, or if you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy and your daughter qualifies or has her own policy of uninsured motorist, that would also qualify as well. And then you have what everybody seems to have in Florida, well, they're supposed to have it, is the PIP insurance, and that covers the first $10,000 of your medical expenses, so it should help offset some of those bills. But the insurance company's not going to tell you all this. If your daughter has any type of health insurance that she is receiving benefits from, that will also help pay for some of the $20,000. But keep in mind, when you get ready to resolve your case, and if there's an insurance company that steps up before you get an attorney involved, they will give you that money and not tell you what you're supposed to do with it, and you may have subrogation rights with your healthcare provider or anybody else who has provided medical services. So the easy answer, the quick answer is absolutely you need to hire an attorney, because it can be a lot more complex than your daughter just being in a simple accident and incurring $20,000.
And I could absolutely vouch for this, having gone through a similar situation with my wife, having a car accident. I don't do the type of law that Chris does. I don't know what to do with the type of law that Chris does, but we hired a competent attorney who helped us through the process, and that's what you have to do.
Well, that was Brian Connors at our firm, right?
Yeah, it was Brian Connors.
Well, you know, that's why we make a great team, Rob, because I do not want to delve in anything that family law related. But we do have a caller on the line. I believe it's Michael. Go ahead with your call from Mariana, Michael.
Yeah, quick child support question.
Okay.
A family member dropped off her child at their residence. The grandmother and me and my wife live here. This was like 3 to 5 years ago. She left, said she was going to go meet up with some friends and never showed back up. The grandmother's got legal custody. Is there any way that we can get child support? It's expensive raising a kid.
It is, Michael, so the grandmother dropped off the child, or I didn't quite understand the question. I'm sorry.
The grandmother's got the child.
The boy's mother dropped her off.
Okay, and the grandmother has the child.
Yeah, has legal custody.
Okay, so there is and you know, if the grandmother has legal custody, meaning she's gone to court and she has some paperwork and orders and things of that nature, then she could actually ask for child support. But child support is going to come from the mother, and they're going to have to find the mother, and that's who that's who the lawsuit would be against, or the father if the father is out there as well. If the grandmother doesn't have any actual court papers or anything like that of nature, just has like a power of attorney or something, there is a temporary order that she can get. It's called Chapter 751. Temporary custody by a familiar family member. You go through the court system and all that, and in the process of doing that, you could also ask for child support. But as is the answer commonly on here, I would suggest you need to talk to an attorney. Just an attorney could probably help you get through some of those things. But that's the short answer.
Michael, thank you for your call. I'll just piggyback on what Rob was talking about. Sometimes these answers are a little bit more complex and just kind of giving you a generic answer over the air. If you'll give us a call tomorrow, we'd be glad to get you in contact with someone at Rob's office, kind of walk you through the process and maybe discuss it in further detail and kind of give you a better answer with more facts that you're able to reveal versus being on the air. We do have another call on the line, Karen, about child custody. Karen, go ahead with your question, please. Karen, can you hear us?
I don't know what they just said.
Karen, go ahead with your question.
What?
Go ahead with your question, Karen. You're on the air.
I can't hardly hear you. You're just nothing but fuzz.
Okay, you may have to turn your television down.
Mute my TV?
Yes, ma'am. Just mute your TV.
Okay, you're still fuzz.
Okay, but we can hear you, so just tell us what your question is. We'll help you, okay?
Well, I have no idea what you're saying.
Okay, we're going to come back to Karen and see if we can get a better idea about what her question is. But it has to deal with child custody, and so Rob, that could be okay. Well,
she's back.
We've got her back on.
Hello?
Karen, can you hear us?
Yes,
now?
Karen. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with your question, please.
Karen,
go ahead and ask your question, ma'am.
Okay, my question is, I'm calling for my son, and he's in the process of divorcing his wife, and they have a child. And he's going through legal aid with a caseworker, and it's taking like 4 or 5 months. The judge keeps rejecting the verbiage, which I don't understand, because it's just a divorce with no assets. And in the process of all of this, she has taken the child and prevented him from seeing her or talking to her. And also, in the meantime, about 4 or 5 months ago, she took the child to another state, to Indiana, without his permission, and she has blocked all access for him to see her or talk to her. He calls every single day and asks to talk to her or video chat with her, and she just completely ignores him. It took her 3 weeks to call him and tell him that his daughter was in another state. And we lived there also. And when I was able to get my granddaughter, I would call my son and let them talk. And I was told after that if I called my son while I had my granddaughter with me, that I would lose all rights and never see my granddaughter again. So I understand that the law is that that's considered kidnapping for her to take him across state lines without his approval. So I wonder, once the divorce gets processed and he files for custody, will they actually pursue kidnapping charges and make her bring that child back to Florida to the father?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, Karen. Let me just start with this. Taking the child across state lines. She's the mother of the child. They're still married. She could take the child across state lines. However, there's a statute that it gets invoked as soon as divorce papers are filed. It's called Florida's relocation statute. And it states basically that neither party can move outside of a 50-mile radius from where they currently live for longer than 60 days without permission of the court or the other party. So there are constructs and things designed to bring the child back during the course or pendency of the litigation if something's done about it. I think a motion for contempt would be filed in order, or maybe even a child pickup order, depending on what's going on. As far as kidnapping goes, there is an Interference of Child Custody Act, or Interference of Child Custody criminal charge, but it doesn't usually kick into play until there's an actual custody order in place. As far as keeping the child from dad, unless she's got a good reason to do so, she should not be able to do so. I would suggest filing a motion for temporary relief with the court to try to get in front of a judge as soon as you possibly can. It's difficult to get time in front of the judges. They are busy. Family Law Court is one of the busiest courts in Bay County or in the 14th Judicial Circuit, depending on where you're at. But they try to make time, and it's not a lot of time for temporary hearings. For a final hearing for divorce or for child custody, you could have an all-day hearing. You could have a 2-day hearing. But
an emergency issue like this,
well,
they're
emergency,
more probably akin to...
and they wouldn't even consider it an emergency, probably, just because the child's with mother.
Okay.
But you could ask for expedited or something like that, and what they usually do is they'll try to carve out an hour, and if you're only asking for an hour to an hour and a half, you can get in front of a judge quicker than you can get in front of a judge saying, I need a full day.
Right.
So that would be my immediate suggestion would be to file for temporary relief during the pendency of the divorce. Otherwise, I would say also you need to contact an attorney.
And that's why you're one of the best to unpack that. That was a lot.
It was a lot.
Guys, we're going to go to our first break of the evening. Phone lines are still open, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@wmbv.com. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Law Call. Tonight we're talking about family law. So if you have a question, give us a call. Phone lines are open, 850-392-1544, or you can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. We got Rob Boyette, a good buddy of mine, here with us tonight, and we're going to jump right back into the phones. We got a grandparent custody issue. So, caller, go ahead with your call, please.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out what I can do about getting legal custody of my 11-year-old, who I have had in my care since he was 3 months old, and the parents have moved away to Texas, and 5 of the other children that they had have all been removed and adopted. We've even adopted one of them back, but everywhere we check, everybody's told us there's nothing they can do for us to get legal custody.
All right, Maria, I'm going to suggest something. It's not permanent legal custody, but if nobody ever comes back to undo it, it's probably the best shot you'd have in the state of Florida. Essentially, they did do a grandparents' rights law a couple years back, but it really only deals with emergency situations like death. That situation. There is and I mentioned this in the last segment, Chapter 751. It's basically temporary custody by a familial person, and there are 2 or 3 different things that have to happen, but one of them is actual physical custody of the child for longer than 30 days. Now, part of it is that you do have to go through what is considered, I guess the dependency statute is written into it, and so you do have to allege that the parents have either abused, abandoned, or neglected the child. Now, if they've moved to Texas and aren't coming back, it seems like they may have, abandoned the child.
Yeah, I think our producers told us that that Maria's had the child since 3 months
Right.
old, so you've got 11 years there.
Yeah, and I would suggest that she's probably already met two of the criteria right off the bat. But what that does is it gives you an order from the court system that says you are, you have custody of this child. Now, it is a temporary order in nature, but like I said, a temporary order can be good till they're 18, as long as nobody's coming back to try to undo it. And even if they try to undo it, they still have to come back and say what's changed since this temporary order was entered. So, like I said, it's Chapter 751, temporary custody by a familial person, or it used to be a bloodlines, but now they've added some other statute into that, so it didn't have to be bloodline, but that would be probably the best shot that I can think of off the top of my head.
Rob, would it actually be in Maria's favor for the parents to try to come back and take the child? Because I know that our judges here would take it very serious to ask the question, number one, why did you leave your kid for 11 years?
Yeah, so if this Chapter 751 filing is made and you have a hearing and all of a sudden mom and dad show back up, I think, yeah, that's going to beg the question, where have you been for 11 years? Or where have you, why?
Well, we've got great judges in our judicial circuit here, and I can only see several, I can imagine several of them asking some very direct questions with these parents who have abandoned their kids and looking at their case file to look at what they've done with other children as well.
Well, and this would be an interesting situation because essentially what could happen is one of two things, because you're going to have to get them served. So they're going to know what's going on. So they're either going to sign a consent form, which really is probably you could send one out there and they would sign it, and that would be the easiest way to go about it. And I'd also maybe save them some embarrassment of having to go to a judge and explain what they've been doing for 11 years.
Right.
Or you're going to have a hearing, and then the judges are going to listen to you make your case for why this parent has abandoned this child and what you've done over the last 11 years taking care of this child.
Rob, let's assume for the fact of this case that Maria knows where these parents are in Texas. Mm-hmm. Could she simply get those parents to consent to an adoption?
Well, that I don't know. I'll be honest, off the top of my head, I don't know.
I'm sorry, you said you don't do a lot of adoptions, or could they consent to some type of custodial arrangement that's more formal?
Well,
and permanent?
I don't know. I don't think so. Okay. And I think they consent to the 751. Like I said, it's temporary in name only for the most part. I mean, you actually file for a temporary custody, but you get a final judgment order from the judge granting you temporary custody, and it pretty much carries all the rights and with it of having custody of the child. It just doesn't. I mean, you can even ask for child support. So,
but temporary in nature until somebody contests it, or is there a time limit of only lasts 90 days or
no, it's
6 months?
It's open-ended. So it's basically indefinite.
Okay.
I mean, it's indefinite, but temporary.
And you beg somebody to come challenge that who's abandoned their kid for 11 years.
Yeah, I think that's what happens.
Now, Maria, I would suggest this, and we've said this on every Answers tonight, I think. Contact an attorney like Rob's office that can help you walk through this process, because it's not something that you want to do by yourself. Some of we're simplifying the process a lot tonight on a lot of these items. So there's a lot of formalities that are involved. scheduling, notices that have to be sent out to legal parents and legal guardians. And just to make sure that you do it correctly and do it right the first time, I would highly recommend you hiring an attorney who specializes in this field. We ran a little long while ago, so we're going to have to take our second break of the evening. Phone lines are still open, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. We're taking our second break of the evening. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back to Law Call. Tonight we're talking all about family law. Chris Young here with Rob Boyette. We do have an email question that came through, and I'm going to try to get to it real quickly. We only have a few minutes left, so we may have to get real quick with this, Rob.
Okay.
I have a close family member that had his driver's license taken away for non-payment of child support 3 to 4 months after he got divorced in 2004. He was on workers' comp when the divorce occurred. He developed lasting injuries that make working difficult to this day. While under doctor's care, he developed an addiction to opioids that lasted 15 or more years. During that time, he was living with his now deceased parents. He has been working for the past 4 years, working on getting his life straightened out, and is no longer addicted. His ex-wife received no government help, and the only enforcement she did was to take his driver's license away so he could not drive to see the kids that lived over 400 miles away. Since the divorce occurred, his ex-wife has only allowed him to see his children approximately 4 times, which has led him to losing the close bond he had with his children. Is there any way for him to get his driver's license back? That's the first question. It has been hard for his surviving family to provide assistance. He is afraid he will go to jail if he tries to talk to anyone about getting his driver's license back. His ex-wife makes 6-figure income. That is why she had no government assistance. He is working at a department store, so he does not make much money. I do not know how much he owes in child support. Both of his kids are now over 20 years old and married, and it was a court order suspension. So we got a minute, we got about 30 seconds to answer that question if you can. The first one is, can he get his driver's license back?
Yes, he can. It's not a guarantee, but you can petition the court to lift the driver's license suspension and maybe set up some type of payment plan to basically try to get that lifted, especially since the children are now grown and on that. I would suggest that he should have filed a modification probably years ago.
Or maybe try to find out how much child support he actually owes first, and then see if he wants to go about getting his driver's license reinstated, because that will trigger some of those actions.
It will, but I mean, if it's already suspended, I don't, and like I said, then the children are already of age. what they would probably do is set up some sort of payment plan for him.
Okay.
So that's the short answer is yes, he could petition the court to get his driver's license back. Nothing's guaranteed though, of course.
Right. All right, we've got to jump into our wrap up tonight. Thank you for that email question that just came through during the break. Rob, you got any shout outs real quickly?
Just my wife, Savannah. I'm sure you're asleep, but I love you. Mom and Dad, hope you guys are asleep as well. Go Gators.
Man, come on, man. You know what? At least we beat Scott's team.
Hey.
At least we beat Scott's team.
It's the only decent win we've had all year. I have to say
my
something.
goodness. Well, at least that's a compliment for us, right?
There you go.
So I'm giving a shout out to my wife, Ashley. She's lying around on the couch with Boss Man watching television. My mom, Mason, is watching. My brother, Charles. Marjorie, who is 50 years old, Saturday, she's watching. Trace, Judy Smith, Paula Frederick, Pam Myers, G Money, Neil the Rock Rivers. We're trying to petition to get Neil on here, trying to get his confidence up so he can do shout outs live behind the desk.
Okay.
But we do have 2 pictures that we want to pop up here real quickly. And there's 4 pictures, okay? This is Les and some of his friends at the Grand Marlin today after a big event that we're going to get to in just a second. Our next picture here. And that's him and his group, but he's actually photobombing in the back there. Les would never do that. So if you take pictures around Les, just go ahead and put him in the picture with you. And then our 3rd picture is very, very special. That's Les's son, Eli McFadder, maybe the best basketball player in the region, accepted Christ as his Savior this morning. I'm getting chill bumps talking about it right now at Highland Park Baptist Church. Congratulations, Eli, buddy. Just love you. Thank you. I just love you to death. And, man, just God bless you. And then that's my brother right there and my sister-in-law. Now, that was about, I don't know, 25 years ago, Rob, because Charles is a little... maybe the only time he's ever smiled like that, I guess. But that's his wife, Marjorie, she's now 50, man.
Oh, wow.
So that's my sister-in-law. So happy birthday, Marjorie.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, and had to throw that in there. He probably was going to shoot me now because I took that off of his refrigerator.
It did look a little dated.
Yeah, it's a Polaroid.
It's a good picture, though.
It's a Polaroid, yeah. So anyways, thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's all about family law. If you have questions during the week, you can always email us, and we'll try to get you some answers during the week. And we'll have a different topic next week. But, if you have questions, you can always reach out to Rob Boyette as well. But anyways, same time, same place next week. Thank you for watching tonight, and I hope you guys have a safe week and a prosperous week. And once again, just Eli McFadder, buddy, just so proud of you, and God bless you, man. And he's got great things in store for you, man.